Hi, and welcome to the show, the best geopolitical analysis. I was seeing Donald Trump talking about they're interviewing him, and he's saying, "Can you assure us that you're not going to use the military force, while invading Greenland?" And he's like, "No." So it's very weird because he's a very he uses language that it's not very political, but to me, what it calls my attention is this is post elections, and the tone is changing, and Greenland, it's a very interesting place because the population is just like 45,000 people, I think. I've never been there, but there's something very weird with those countries because they're not going there because of food. That's one. It must have like lots of resources, maybe lithium, gold. I heard that Alaska, I think all of Florida is like full of gold. And curiously enough, Alaska was Russian, right? But they want something. Donald Trump was saying that what they want is for geopolitical security and economical security. And who knows, right? Like, I'm gonna say something that's kind of weird. I also want to make a mention, because I'm washing my clothes, and every time I wash my clothes, especially right now, it's kind of cold. I end up with the weirdest combinations. Today looks like I don't know, like weird. Anyway, Greenland is I've never been there. The closest I've been is Iceland and Canada. And when I was in Canada, I was like, what was these people thinking when they arrived here? Like the French when they arrived to Quebec. It's such a tough, like, the cold is so harsh that how come anyone would want to live there? No offense, it's beautiful, but it means so much more effort. And I think that was shared by some of the Quebecois because there was points. It was so harsh that they said they wanted to leave, especially with the harsh winters. And the Vikings left as well because they arrived there. And from what I understand, there was a fight between the Vikings and the Native Americans. I think one of the Native Americans stole. I'm not sure if it was like a woman or something like that, and it caused a big conflict. So the Vikings left. And yes, there's ideas that the borders are gonna start moving. At the beginning, they sound kind of far-fetched, but Justin Trudeau just resigned yesterday. So there's a lot of things that I wouldn't expect to happen so fast. And yes, what else? Greenland is weird because I've never been there, but I've seen several documentaries, so I'm an expert. But I had a friend that also went there, and something that he told me was that people from Greenland tends to be very suicidal. And I was wondering why, like, if you have such a beautiful country. So he told me that it was the weather, but the children especially, they commit suicide on a very daily basis. And he also said, I think that they eat, I'm not sure if it's whale or elk burgers, which I thought it was interesting. But from the documentary that I saw, there was a lot of suicide, and it had to do with a lot of sexual abuse. And yeah, it's like children, and they do like awareness campaigns, but also you have the Danish people who have this huge colony. But something that is interesting about the Danes is like they have it there, but they haven't really, like when the Spaniards arrived to Latin America or Mexico, they started making themselves like, we're the owners of this land, and this is our colony. And from what I've seen, I'm not an expert on the topic, but they just have Iceland, but not a lot of Danish people live in Greenland. Sorry, Greenland. And yeah, I guess we're just gonna learn more about this, but I'm noticing like a shift in tone in a lot of countries, that the borders are starting to shift, and I think that's interesting. We went from this woke ideology of being like, this was from our parents and like we belong here, and it kind of makes sense for like 3 4 years, especially after Black Lives Matter. But right now, like the true colors are coming out, and I guess like that invader spirit is coming back in a way, and everybody's saying like, fuck that shit, like we're just gonna take what we need. And that's something that's been the real reason why almost all of us are in our countries right now. It was because our great grandparents fought these wars, and we ended in the places where we ended. Even like in Mexico, people think Mexico was a country, but it was just different tribes fighting for all the land, and it was brutal fights. It was like wars that totally eradicated groups of people. And then after a while, like it grows and the families start to, it's called a country, so they move around. But I guess right now he's also saying that they're going to claim the Panama Canal. And it's not only the US, it's Brazil was fighting with French Guyana not so far along. I think it was for petroleum. Who else? Well, Russia and Ukraine, the Middle East, there's like a good amount of that. And yes, it's interesting, what, right? Like, what do you guys think? I tried to be very fair about this, or not fair, but just like real, because I could say like nobody, like everybody should just stop fighting, like the Michael Jackson meme where he puts the gun down. But I think there's a lot of expansion going on, and there will be a lot of expansion. And the ones who take it are the ones like the biggest countries, probably like China with Taiwan. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's also kind of worrying. I was thinking, if you live somewhere, maybe it's a good idea to have it in mind. If maybe the safest place of a country is in the middle, because if the borders are gonna move, maybe if you're in the middle of Brazil or something, if not, probably you're not gonna get invaded by Argentina. Yeah. But also, Brazil is like militarily, they were all fighting wars in Latin America. I thought they were just like skating and dancing samba, but it was brutal. There was like brutal wars. Chile and Peru, like everybody was just wanting territory, and I kind of get that. I used to love playing a game called Risk when I was a kid. And it was like, you just like throw the dice and you were like, I want France for me. And like you put your, I don't know, it was fun. Obviously, if it's in real life, it shouldn't be fun if you're the one being conquered. But maybe the guys from the militaries think it's fun. And I think it goes a little bit beyond that. It goes to a point where not a lot of people talk about this, but countries are families. And there's ethnicities, and you're kind of protecting your people, especially in the moment when other people is becoming a threat. So you want your family to be the safest, and if you are super powerful like the United States, and you see this huge country bigger than all of Europe with 45,000 people, it doesn't sound so crazy to me that they would do it. And yeah, I don't know, interesting, right? Hope you enjoy it. Tell me what you think about it. Bye.